Yo, what's going on? It's Solar Ken, the Energy King, and we're on the Talk Solar and Vibe podcast. To the right of me is my homie, my brother from another mother, Stetson
What's up?
HTX.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Go ahead and introduce yourself, my guy.
Stetson HTX. How y'all doing tonight?
Let's
Good
go.
people, good people. What's up, man?
Yes. So we have a wonderful show or wonderful episode for you guys tonight. The topic, which is black-owned businesses.
Okay. Okay.
How do you feel about a black-owned business, and what do you take in when you see a black-owned business?
Think it's just I applaud them, number one, because it's not easy to own any business or to be entrepreneurial in any state. But just in our society and our culture and what we're dealing with as a people, to have a successful black owned business is just another level up for me, in my opinion, and whatever I can do to support my people, I will. So shout outs to all the black owned businesses on whatever level or whatever stage that you are in. I definitely salute you and applaud you for making just the initial leap, that initial step of faith, because it's not easy. Owning a business in itself isn't easy, and I think even owning a black-owned business is, I think, even harder, because sometimes we get stigmatized and we get pigeonholed into certain lanes, just as a people and just within our society. So yeah, that's my first take of a black-owned business. But yes, I definitely do support, and I definitely have my encouragement.
I definitely agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
This topic is very, very, very dear to my heart because I am a entrepreneur at heart.
Mm-hmm.
I move and operate as my own entity.
Mm-hmm.
And myself, I am a black man in America operating as a business.
Yeah.
And I experience all the ups and downs of trying to be, I guess, the most polished person so I can operate in that realm of a black business, only because we are stigmatized to a certain degree on what could be or what should be or what can't be because of the opportunities not presented to us, and we just have to make the most of it. So I guess let's looking back at like black businesses over the course of, like, let's say the last 50 to 60 years, where could we have been if there was opportunities given to us, loans, business information. We're not getting a lot of this information because we're actually starting to pass it on. We still are at a place where in our culture we want to sell everything that we possibly can, even though that we're so far behind that it'd be better off for us to pass the knowledge along and then sell it to other individuals. We can sell ourselves, but we can't I guess give each other information. If you want to get what I'm really getting at is, we can sell ourselves in entertainment because they buy that all day long. But it's funny that we can't help another person that looks like us find a way to operate on the business side so we all can win together.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but it's usually the competition thing. Everybody wants to be in competition with one another when we should be working with one another.
Yeah, more collaborative effort.
It should be a very much so a collab on everything you do, and it should be a benefit to break it down and bust it down the middle, and or bust it in whatever increments of percentages that should be given out.
Yeah.
But it should never be like we're holding the gate.
Yeah.
They're holding the gate key, because that's just hating.
Yeah, I think from what I'm starting to see, more panels, and I think it's a beautiful thing to see because, like you were just saying, no one person can be the gatekeeper. Like, you can, but it's not going to be beneficial. It's always better if you can do it with someone that you can trust, and even better if you can do it with people that you can trust. And I think that especially in our time now, like with the influence that we can gain on social media and the fact that you can actually build a web with people that are in your same lane and not feel as if your toes are being stepped on, or that person may have more visibility or maybe even more talent. No one person has it all. And so, like, when we see the Forbes list that recently just came out, where Jay-Z and Puff and you have other Oprah and Tyler Perry, like, two rappers, two media empires, but those two people or those two groups are always intertwined. So normally you'll see Puff at Jay stuff or Jay stuff at Puff stuff, or normally you'll see Oprah backing Tyler stuff or Tyler backing Oprah stuff. We see that in a higher arena, and now we're finally starting to see that trickle down in and you know, in the, I don't want to say lower arenas, but they're billionaires, you know. So the fact that you can now see the effects, if they can get together and they can do things together, why can't we?
The issue, I'll tell you, the biggest reason why they can't get together is because they're making money together.
Right, and that's the thing. So if it's happening at that level, why can't it happen at this level?
The only reason they are at that level is because the people at the bottom place them on a pedestal, which allows them to get to that level.
I agree. Yeah, I do agree.
On top of that, like when it comes down to like the, I guess, sticking together portion, we as a culture create the culture. We as a culture have the most influence on the world. And if that was an opportunity to, I guess, better ourselves, we can do that together versus doing it apart. It makes more sense.
Yeah, we agree. I think we definitely agree with that. Like,
yeah, but the thing about it is, until we understand it as a whole, until we actually start taking, I guess, heed to that, and then also, like I said, promoting our own businesses, being a part of our own businesses, sharing the business with the community, and being supportive of that business or those businesses, then we can't really make that step as a group. Like I said, Tyler Perry, Oprah, they can make those initial pushes because they're together, and they have the influence, and they have the money, they have everything that you would need to start a successful business. Same thing at the lower levels of, like, just basic levels of society. Why don't we have more black-owned construction companies? It ain't like the infrastructure isn't there. Right. It ain't like we don't have that money to develop those things. It ain't like we don't have the customers and the clientele. We do have all of those things. I mean, for me being in the solar industry, like I said, this podcast is about talking solar, but the vibes in general of just an everyday citizen. You look at it like this, like, I'm in an industry where majority of the people that don't look like me do all the business in the communities that look like me. They look like me, they look like you, they look like my mom, they look like your mom, but we are not getting no benefits out of it. Right. There's no solar company that's primarily black owned, probably in most of these neighborhoods, operating and doing business with their own community. Why is that?
Yeah, I think that's just been a repetitive pattern that's gone on for years, where you see different nationalities come into predominantly black neighborhoods and succeed and dominate, just because
they're the only business that's operating in that neighborhood.
Well, yeah, and I think it's just because we've been I don't want to say conditioned. I think it's just because we haven't, back in the day, we didn't really necessarily have the same opportunities. I think now we have those opportunities to do so. So it's even more important, but we've seen it for years. And I think we're finally getting to a point where we're fed up with allowing people to really just come in and take over for no reason. I do think there's a pivot coming, but it is important. It is important that we really stay focused and really get educated, you know, and use the tools that we can utilize so that when we do decide to make these moves, and when we do decide to get into these areas where they've been predominantly taken over by different nationalities, we can do so by coming together. And that's what they've done, you know.
No, and I agree. But so, since like we're on the topic of, let's say, black-owned businesses in the black community, right? Like I said, when it comes down to the construction business alone, like the construction side, black builders, black workers, black roofers, black plumbers, those are all opportunities for us to do businesses in our own communities and provide value to our own people.
Get into those untapped areas.
Then to get into those untapped areas, but also tap into the areas in which it is needed the most. Right. Like those businesses that I just spoke on, the roofers, the black-owned roofers. My uncle was a black-owned roofer. He owned the company over the last 40 years of since like the 84 or something like that. He's been in business. And with that being said, he has always worked within the community and provided value to his people. Now, a lot of times that he got the butt end of everything because of dealing with certain types of people trying to front work and do things off of the goodness of his heart, and then ended up getting nothing out of it. But at the end of the day, it's like, yo, if he doesn't do that, then who does? Most likely another person of another nationality comes into that neighborhood, does the business, and they get paid right then and there, or they take the proper precautions just to get their money some way or somehow. And what I'm saying is, we can do that. We can really change the culture when it comes down to just doing business in our community, keeping that dollar circulating in our community. Why would you go out, work hard for your hard-earned money, work those 40, 50, 60 hours in a week, just to go give it to another community that would never come back to your community and do business with you?
Yeah, so true. And we do it so many times.
We do it in every industry. Like, bro, that's not pretend like it doesn't happen in the food industry. For the most part, there's only a few certain types of restaurants. We don't have black sushi shops in most cities. Yeah, mostly owned by.
And it's crazy because we know good food. Black folk, we know good food, and I know how I am. Cook. Like, I will get on Yelp and I will look at the pictures of the food, and I also want to see the environment. If I don't see us sitting in there, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm really apprehensive on trying it because I'm like, I don't know if I don't see my people there. I don't know if the food gonna be hitting right.
But
so
the issue is like I said, we don't get the opportunity to do business in our own communities in a way that we would want to do business.
Right.
We're getting the okay, you can operate this, but you can't own a bank in your community, or you can't own the liquor stores in your community. You don't own the lawn care services in your community. Like, these are all opportunities for most of our people to work and provide value to their community, but
so true.
We don't do that, and it sucks because, again, as a black owned business myself, my goal is to provide a value to my community in ways in which it's going to be it's going to be seen, it's going to be heard. I want to be the change. I want to be that person that says, you know what, I provided this service for this community, and it was great, and it came out the way that it was supposed to. So even with like I said, a black owned construction company, those should be prominent. Like, we should have black owned rental services, that way you can go get. I'm not saying that it has to be labeled black owned.
Right.
I'm saying,
but we should know. We should be able to point out and know.
You can't point out one. You can't point out a rental service in the city of Houston, even though that it's probably one out here somewhere, but it's probably one of very few that are black owned rental services, where you can go get a bobcat, or you can go get a backhoe so you can do your digging and stuff like that. That's owned by a black person. It's probably not one out there. And it's probably not one that a black plumbing company that's been around since the 80s or 90s, the last 30 years of existence, and you can't really call them up and be like, yo, I want you to come fix everything in the house, or replumb the whole house. Like, what do you mean? There's obviously contractors.
Right.
We're talking about the business.
Right. Institutions that we can, like, literally just call upon and make sure that they get things done for us. Yeah.
So, I mean, on top of that, I mean, like I said, I do praise, like, I would love to do more business with the community. I would love for it to be like, well, we're walking into this shop, and I know that Miss Margaret, who's on a pie making company or a baking company for the last 30 years, is getting all the business from all the cakes that's being made from these restaurants, or not restaurants, but these bakeries on these, I guess, shows that we can go and just give our money to. Like, if I want to go get a cake from my son, I can go get a cake from her, and I know it's going to be exactly what I want. It's going to taste like I want it to taste, and come from some hands that I know that most likely prepared it with love.
Yeah, because we're definitely out there. It's just making sure that we're predominantly out there. You flood the market.
You see the gifts with social media. Like, there's a lot of things being created, even with fashion. This is the biggest thing that I want to speak on. It's like, what about fashion in our communities? Why do we have to go out and buy the most expensive, lavish things that come from different cultures and different places in the world. When we have all the expertise to design and we know fashion. Like as a culture, we know fashion because we create it. We can change something that was supposed to be looked in one light by two sizes too big and make it something totally different.
Right.
Like, oh, this wasn't supposed to look like that, but now since you got into it and now you're letting it either sag or fit a certain type of way, it looks way better to us at least. And some other cultures might not think so, but we build it, we develop it in our own ways. We can change the way the outcome of whatever that look is just by rocking it a certain way, putting your hat backwards, wearing your clothes backwards or something.
Right. It's just within us to have our own distinct look. We've done that from time to time. And I was listening to something today, and he was saying that basically, even though we may, by number, be 11% of the population, we control about 90% of the culture. And that's just us innately. You know, if we do something, it's going to have its ripple effects. I do believe that it's definitely time for us. And I like I said earlier, I think we're at the genesis of that, of seeing like how powerful we can be when we do decide to collaborate, when we do get to these points where we see that a lot of these businesses and a lot of these, let's stick on fashion, these fashion houses, that they will promote to our culture, but they don't really represent our culture. And I think the moment we start to see that, or we're starting to see that finally, you're starting to see more Black-owned fashion houses, Black-owned companies that are creating and making designs that are nice to the point where we want to buy them. I think just as a people, though, we have to make sure that when we see it, we support it. And I think that's another thing, not be willing to wait until it becomes so popular, but invest into these houses, invest into these entrepreneurs that are starting off and doing something that is so new, but giving them also the footing and the capital that they need to be popular, because they're out there, but I think they don't have the support that they need from us as a people, if that makes any sense.
No, I agree. It makes perfect sense because, I mean, they're not getting the support. Again, we got other businesses that aren't getting the support. It's a whole ecosystem that's not supporting its own.
Yeah.
We're basically dying off in a sense of our infrastructure. It's whittling away with the opportunities that's put in front of us. Like, we don't have a lot of things that we can basically call our own. And if we don't start doing it now, we'll never be able to do it because of the technology that's going to be developed over the next 3 to 5 years.
AI is out there.
It's already here. It's not even out. It's literally here, and it's only getting smarter by the day, smarter by the second. And also, like, if you really want to benefit and thrive in the community, you need to plant your seeds as soon as possible.
Oh yeah.
We need Black gardens. We need Black food restaurants that are actually built around the substance, not just selling you food, like, or selling you disease in a sense. Because a lot of the stuff that we eat is not made for us.
It's so true.
And knowing that, like, why don't we have these chains and these more healthy options in our communities? Because everything that's in our communities are usually detriment to our health.
Right. Yeah.
So look at you told me when you was in near college, what is it?
In Atlanta, College Park.
Yeah, College Park. You told me that pretty much there was nothing around there but
tons of wing spots, a Waffle House pretty much on every corner. And it wasn't until you got to like Midtown and downtown where you got to see like Slutty Vegan or you know, a lot of other restaurants that were providing, Black-owned restaurants that were providing healthy options, or just options that were better, as opposed to just, it ain't nothing wrong with some good wings, nothing wrong with Waffle House. But if we're trying to elevate as a culture, like you just said, we can't eat that every single day and expect to be in a good space.
Constantly in your diet. That's right. We should be teaching our children that this is like a once every while every
Right.
thing, but not an everyday event.
Everyday thing. That's
And
so
more
true.
people are eating at DoorDash or from DoorDash or from some fast food restaurant than they are cooking food at home. And it's a
Correct.
sad thing when we have some of the best cuisines in the culture. Like in our culture, we have some of the best cuisine, but we have to learn how to cook it the right way
Right.
and in ways in which we're not, I guess, losing the nutrition behind it.
Yeah. It's not just for taste.
It's all about me, but that's what we go for is taste, and that's even with in like I said, in the culture. Like the culture is taste. What tastes good, what looks good, what feels good.
So dangerous.
And that's the most dangerous portion about it. Like it might look good that's coming from a different place, but it doesn't mean it is good. Again, I want to support Black businesses, and I want to be the person that speaks about it more often. And I'm not saying that you can't do business with other cultures, because it's a whole ecosystem. Like even though that river doesn't directly flow into the ocean from whatever point, it flows into some underground aquifer that has to go somewhere at some point, which means it'll eventually end up in the ocean.
Yeah.
So you obviously have to manage that the whole way through.
Yeah.
So just knowing that it has to go somewhere, you definitely have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I think personally, I think it begins and ends honestly with us. We have to make sure that we're educating ourselves and getting to a point where we're fed up with ignorance in a lot of different areas. And sometimes it's such a taboo word to say, but anything that you're not knowledgeable in, that means you're ignorant in. And so we have to just come to a grips with like, okay, what can I do to make sure I'm perpetuating something that's better for the next? If I don't have a huge following or a huge level of influence, I know that there's somebody around me that I can impact. I know that there's somebody around me that if I just sit back and tune down the entertainment for just a little bit and tune up the education for not just a little bit, but for a period of time, that's going to create some ripple effects with those, not only within myself, but those around me. And I think if we get to that point where we getting understanding and get the knowledge of what is better, and what's going to be more consistently better for us as a people, then I think we'll begin to see that, and if you look at civilization, or if you even look at our country, and you see places that are normally poverty stricken, it's because it's due to a lack of a good education in that particular area. And that's sad. But you'll see predominantly wealthier cities or cities that have a higher median income, education is valued. And so that goes all throughout the world. And so right now at our fingertips, we have the smartphones and we have the applications and we have YouTube. We have all these things at our fingertips. And if we just take that time in increments, to be able to just educate ourselves on what we could do so that we can have a better quality or higher quality of life, I think that we can start heading in a better direction.
Well, I mean, this is all true. I mean, the whole point of getting an education is so that you can learn from others' mistakes and be able to come up with your own theories and develop a system that actually could possibly change something in the near future.
Yeah.
Thinking about where we come from, thinking about who we are as a culture, who we are as a people, who we are as I mean, the opportunities are endless for our in our community, because there's just enough space, enough money, there's enough, I guess, intellectual individuals that really know what the fuck is going on. Sorry to excuse my French, but it really know what's going on, and we should be able to take control and take it back into our power.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think at the end of the day, if we want to have any inclination or any kind of turn in this ship, that we have to make sure that we gain control. I mean, it's turned by the rudder, so we have to make sure that what we're doing is that we're making it's not about always being boisterous, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not always being like, okay, this is what we have and this is what we're going to do. I think it's like today it was announced that Magic Johnson is putting a bid in to own a football team, and it's the Washington
Redskins.
Yeah, they're not the Redskins. What are they now?
Commanders.
Commanders. And so there's been no talks of that externally in the media, but obviously there were some talks behind the scenes. Same thing with like Diddy and Diddy and Tyler. They're up for bidding to own BET. And so like these talks have been going on, but they don't happen until the actual bids go through. And I think that's what we have to make sure that we're doing. Like, we're really quiet, we're moving behind the scenes, and when it's time to produce and when it's time to actually make that move, it's pretty much a done deal. And so I think that's what has to be important. Like, less talking, more action, more collaborations, more joining together, putting our resources and our finances together so that we can do things on a bigger scale. Because once again, one person having that key, like you stated earlier, we're not going to do it. It's going to take more people that are able to access that key, and then also making sure that we relinquish the ownership or the person that has to turn the key. Like, we're not jealous of that person.
True. I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, why is there only really one major black network? Like, I mean, we know of BT, we got OWN TV,
right? Yeah,
TV.
OWN, yeah.
Like,
shout out to Oprah.
I mean, but those are like 2 or 3 networks that we really know of.
Right.
I mean, you see so many different networks that's owned by other cultures.
Correct. Yeah.
And is invested in, and there's different opportunities for someone to actually to develop something into whatever they want.
Right.
We don't have that, but BET is our only outlet.
Right.
Like, nah, man, we need to own we should have a whole series of channels
to influx the media. Media loves us.
Exactly.
They use us.
We should have fashion channels. We should have history channels.
All of that.
We should have all of those things that derive from who we are, not necessarily from who somebody else perceives us to be.
Correct.
And that's the issue, is that we don't invest in ourselves enough in which we're able to actually, I guess, develop these things. Like, it's not as hard as people make it seem. It's easier to say, you know what, I'm going to deal with this side of the field, and I want to only deal with this side of the field in order for us to get ahead. If we just commit. If we commit to that, then we're good.
Yep.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
And like I said, if I sold 15 solar systems to people that look like me, trust me, I guarantee it'd be better than those 15 people going to 5 other races or nationalities just to figure out that I could have gave them a better deal.
Correct. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. But I mean, I don't want to tell anybody who to spend their money with.
Right. That's your choice.
That's your choice. But at the end of the day, just know that it'd be as long as the person that you're dealing with is reputable, it'd be well spent versus just giving it away and never spending it again. It's not even about ownership, bro. Like, you give we don't franchise enough. Like, we don't franchise enough.
Yeah.
Franchising gives you the opportunity to get investments from other individuals who can cover the basic cost of developing the business itself. Like, I mean, when I think about running a business, I don't think about 100% ownership. I think about a partial ownership.
Right.
I just want a piece of everything. Just a small piece. It doesn't have to be the largest piece. I would like to be majority owner, but even if I was a majority owner of a minority share, like it could be 40%, it could be 30%, and the other 70% could be shared between the community or the public.
Yeah.
That means there's money being passed around throughout multiple different individuals, but there's a majority owner, which is most likely myself, unless somebody just so happens to buy out everybody else. But either way, what I'm saying is you have an opportunity to create a system in which everybody can eat off of. I start a barbershop. The barbershop is a real cool concept. Why don't I franchise the barbershops to other barbershops in the area? That way, that barbershop can be, I guess, well-renowned, and now you have a track record of providing a great service, but it's also owned by other individuals that look like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that any other body can invest in it,
Mm-hmm.
but come on now, it'd be like a franchise that's started by such and such African American man, and everybody else is an investor inside of that brand. Which even if you're a franchise owner, you still invested in the brand,
Mm-hmm.
which gives us the leeway to go back and invest in other things.
Mm-hmm.
If you own a ice cream company, like a whatever brand of ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
why can't we have a black ice cream franchise?
Right. Franchise it out. Yeah. Yeah.
Black,
make some legacies.
Black coffee.
Correct. And
franchise.
they're there. They're there. But that franchising aspect, that scaling,
That franchising is going to change the game. Reason why? Because I don't want 100% ownership of this one thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it out.
Right.
I'm going to allow you to use it.
Right.
Why I'm allowing you to use it? Because we don't want to just own one. We want to own hundreds.
Right.
And there's in every city, there could be a black owned coffee shop.
Correct.
That means it's invested in by, or it was invented or created by a black owned ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became franchised out. Mm-hmm. Which even if it is like someone who outside of the race that owns it, guess where their money goes? To a black owned business owner.
Yeah.
It makes it more simple in my mind.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
And then again, going back to that whole construction. Why, if we were to get some work done in your home, are you deliberately looking for somebody outside of your race to do the work, or do you want somebody that looks like you, that understands you, that wants to know, needs the credibility from the community so that we can gain more trust, but also who wants to just do business with people that look more like them? Because I don't see that happening as much as it should.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just trying to grow.
Amen.
I'm just trying to grow.
Yeah, man, we just got to grow and build. And I think it's important, as much as we want to put that out there, that we make sure that we're modeling exempling that as well. So, I think it hits harder when we're able to practice what we preach. And so it's essential. Like, it's essential not only just for those that are viewing, but it's essential for us as well, to make sure that we are doing whatever we can with whatever resources that we can, not just to heap them upon ourselves, but to make sure we're spreading that amongst our community, giving out education, and just being a viable resource, somebody that I don't have to question their morals. I don't have to question their integrity. Like, if I hear something, I can bank on it, still educate myself, still make sure that I'm vetting the advice that I'm given, but in the same token, knowing that if I do just hear something from them, I can bet on them, knowing that I trust what they're saying because they move with integrity. And we as a people, we have those qualities. And I think a lot of times we move, or we get stigmatized as moving as if we're moving as a hustle. And we're not. We may be hustlers, and our grind is maybe hard because of what we've been through, but we are an educated people, and we are business owners, and we are entrepreneurs, and we know that we can get these things done individually, and we can get them even done more collectively. But I think it's making sure that we have that trust within ourselves, that trust and that camaraderie, not just within ourselves, but within other people that we interact in as well too.
No, I agree. I think that we don't trust each other enough, and I don't think that we believe in each other's abilities. I think that there are certain things that we could do better. Customer service is one of them.
Yeah.
Like, I think customer service is, as a whole, especially depending on what industry you're in, hospitality industry, the restaurant business, like that can be way better than what it's been, especially here in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, I think that we could provide a better quality of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just overall, like, our communication is usually not the best when it comes down to providing a service.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because we just haven't had a true feel for what it's like to be in full control.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we're going to get handed the keys to the first 2 doors, but it might be 4 or 5 doors that you really need to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And you really don't know the back end, because those come with trial and error.
Right.
Like, so, at the end of the day, we need to be provided I guess the full reins and being allowed to lead from the front instead of leading from the back.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of the day, we'll grow into that because it's natural.
Yeah.
I think that we value way more of the money than we do of the valuing of like the people.
Yeah.
I think that that should be the first thing that we change is like, okay, let's not focus just on money. Let's focus on the value of who the people.
We'll always get messed up if you start focusing on money first. The money's gonna follow the plan.
Exactly.
Like, you chase money, you're forever gonna be chasing money. Money is not something to be chased. You know, money is an asset, is a tool. So we move that purpose, move with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
We move with, with an organization. Then the money will come because the purpose is there. So, yeah,
that's pretty good. I think that's a good place where we should end. Just off of we know where we need to go, and this episode was mainly just to give a light on what our thoughts was about black owned businesses. And since we are technically entrepreneurs and do value our community, we just want to share that light with everyone that's been watching this whole time. So if you made it this far, we do appreciate you. Please support. If you are interested in going solar, please go to solarkin.theenergyking.com. Go book a call. Just fill out the form. I'd be more than happy, like I said, to share my knowledge with you and just give you my expertise on you going solar. Feel free to go follow us on Talk Solar and Vibe podcast on all social media platforms. Also go follow me on SolarKin the Energy King on all social media platforms.
Yeah, and as well as Instagram for me, IG Stetson HTX. So yeah, definitely follow us, tune in, and we have more content coming, and we are excited about what's coming down the pipeline.
Most definitely. Like I said, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us on time. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and we're out. Thanks.
Cool.